I'm Sebastian Darshan. I'm the coordinator for the Urban Design Studio Semester 2 at UQ. And the project area this semester is Salisbury. It's a suburb of Salisbury, which is a bit less than 10 kilometers from Brisbane CBD. So I would call it's not an inner city suburb. It's more, kind of outer suburb, a bit far away from the city center. Um, but Salisbury is experiencing a bit of a growth, especially in terms of, like you can see, new businesses are coming here because it's cheaper than being in West End, for example. So they're saving on the rents. But this fashion designer is pretty famous. If you check her on Facebook, she's showing a fashion and clothing in Paris, New York, different cities in the world. So it shows that something is happening in Salisbury. New businesses are coming. We're gonna go at Reload Cafe as well. New residents are coming as well. So it's a good point at this time to imagine what could be Salisbury in 15 years. So this is what you will have to do in this course, is to propose a plan for the next 15 years. And we call it a regeneration plan. So the area that I want you to work on in this perimeter here, which includes so a lot of light manufacturing and this kind of building like this one, and also a bit of residential as well. So one issue in Salisbury is that the economic activities and the residential are very divided. There's no mixed use, and most probably in the next 15 years, Brisbane City Council is willing to have a mix of uses. So this is a question you will have to answer in your plan, how you accommodate more of a mix of users in the area. There's a lot of interest at the moment. Brisbane City Council has been running a new neighborhood plan. So you've got the community, the minutes on the blackboard. There's quite a lot of information there. A lot of people are willing to have an interest in this area. Also, so Brisbane City Council, but also Suburban Alliance are there. And they are willing to also redevelop the area, but more from the perspective of the developers, as your plan is more from a perspective of the community and the businesses. What do those people want, and how I can accommodate that in my plan. This is Chrome Street, which is I would say one of the main street in Salisbury. This is where the Chrome Street Festival is happening every year. It's quite a unique festival, especially for families, and it's basically a lot of people from the area showcasing what they do, and also a lot of food, street food, and music. So it shows that some residents in Salisbury are kind of already pretty organized and want to create, probably a place that is a bit more vibrant. So Reload Cafe is also one of it's a cafe and restaurant, but it's also a place where at the back of the cafe there is a meeting place where Giuliano is organizing bands to come to play live, also some theater, some plays, so quite a cultural place as well. And just to show you that a place is kind of emerging in Salisbury with all those different little places that are proposing things a bit different than what you would do usually. So Reload Cafe is interesting because it's a former munition factory. So some weapons and munition were actually being manufactured there. A lot of the buildings in Salisbury are related to the Second World War. And Reload Cafe is really an adaptive reuse project where the structure has been kept and then turned they use into a meeting place, a coffee place. The owner Giuliano is very involved in the community here as well. But just to show you that something is emerging, even if Salisbury doesn't seem very vibrant, there are things happening if you know a bit of the area. So yeah, a place is emerging now with new businesses coming in the area. A lot of those people are what we call West End refugees. So they would be people living in West End not able to afford the cost of living there and looking for business opportunities a bit further away from the CBD. So Salisbury is really a former industrial suburb in transformation with a few places um, driven by business. So the place making on the regeneration is really driven by businesses coming here. And if we, that's why it's important to have a good plan for the next 15 years on which you're going to be working, because you don't want to scrap the area. It's got a good potential, but you don't want it to become the new West End or something unaffordable. You want to keep a diversity of housing, especially affordable housing, because a lot of people are coming here because it's still cheap. So you want to keep that aspect. You don't want to gentrify the area too much. But a good thinking on how to regenerate the area is needed. So that's why we have this area for this semester to work on. So from the economy, um, so you can look at some data, but there's been some reports that the economy is a bit declining in Salisbury. A lot of the manufacturing are leaving to other places, so the jobs are declining. So there is a need to find a new type of economy that could settle here. So you've got a lot of warehouses. In 15 years, is this type of manufacturing going to stay here? Probably not. So you need to imagine, probably maybe keeping the structure of the building, but what could be in there as a substitute, I'll explain that in lecture, but in a lot of former industrial area, you can divide those spaces into smaller spaces for economic activities that are consume a bit less spaces. So like creative industries or companies based on doing web design. Those kind of companies are sometimes 2 to 3 or 2 to 5 people. They're using less spaces, so you can put more of them here. Very often they are startup companies, so young people starting a companies, they are craving or looking for affordable spaces. So Salisbury would be, the right place to do to have this economic transformation, given the infrastructure that is there. So think about that. How, in terms of the economy, can you move from manufacturing that is not likely to be there in 15 years to a more diverse type of economy? So creative industry, also retail, like the Reload Cafe, but try to think of how your plan can generate a diverse economy. So this is the end of the site visit. So basically, your aim is to turn a former industrial area into a mixed-use kind of neighborhood. Imagine what it's going to be in 15 years. So of course you will have to come with solutions in terms of the land use and trying to make it a livable community. This is one of the only public space in the area because most of the space is devoted to industries. If you walk the area like us, I feel pretty tired now. The blocks are very large. It's very inconvenient for pedestrians. So, in your plan, you might want to consider, laneways or dividing blocks into smaller blocks to increase pedestrian connectivity. But at the moment, it's just a place emerging with a few businesses, and you've got residents there that have been there for a long time, especially at the back of your perimeter and at the south as well. But this area, which is mainly manufacturing, needs to be turned into a mixed-use development. So that's your aim for this semester, how to imagine and develop strategies to actually come up with a plan that foster a mix of users, and also makes it a kind of livable communities for the next 15 years. So your time frame is really around 15 years. Um, Keep in mind that at the end of the once your plan is completed, it's going to be 15 years from now. So that's what Brisbane City Council is looking at, to have a kind of a plan looking at the future in a time frame around 15 years. So that's your plan for Salisbury. It doesn't mean that the area is dead at the moment. There's quite a lot of happening. The Chrome Festa festival. So some people are pretty active. So you can imagine, Salisbury being the West End 20 years ago, where things were not as established and also not as gentrified as today. So Salisbury is really an opportunity to create a great place, an affordable place, but with more vibrancy. As we walked around, there are Reload Cafe, which is a landmark, but there are small places where you can buy food and coffee places, but you don't have a lot of retail. So it's for you to imagine what would be an appropriate mix of users for the area over the next 15 years.